That deadly kidnapping in Mexico, 2 of the 4 Americans have safely returned to the U.S., while U.S. officials confirmed the other 2 were found dead earlier today. The State Department spokesperson Ned Price actually spoke about the efforts to recover their remains now.
The 2 survivors have since been repatriated back to the United States. That occurred with the assistance of our Mexican partners, with the assistance of our officials in Mexico. We are in the process of working to repatriate the remains of the 2 Americans who were killed in this incident.
So let's go ahead and bring in our Brad Garrett as we talk about the 4 Americans here. Brad, former FBI negotiator and agent. We can tell you that Lafayette McGee is one of the survivors, along with Eric James Williams. Apparently it was Tay that was headed over there for some type of cosmetic surgery. This is the sort of details we're trying to clearly figure out if indeed they are fact or not. But what we can tell you, the 2 survivors there on the screen is Eric James Williams and Latavia Tay McGee. And we're learning a lot more about the incident, Brad.
We are. So Terry? Yeah, let's ask Brad. Were Americans not directly targeted, but these 4 Americans were attacked in broad daylight, then taken it. So if you were looking at this investigation, actually trying to look at the whole spectrum of questions, what would you do? What do you look at here?
Well, first of all, I'd like to know if they were targeted. In an earlier conversation, I mentioned that could they have actually been spotted in Texas and a lookout who's looking for vulnerable Americans to possibly assault, kidnap, hold for ransom. I mean, it's pretty obvious you've got a vehicle that does not have folks from Mexico in it, and it has North Carolina tags. That's one possibility. The other, it's just an opportunity crime, that they roll into Matamoros, presumably to go to some sort of medical treatment facility, and they encounter these gunmen. Now, I guess I'd have the question I would ask Terry is, why did they open fire if, in fact, they're trying to kidnap them to hold them for ransom? That part's sort of unclear. But, you know, they have on body armor, the bad guys do. They shoot at least 3 of the 4. The one that survived apparently shot in the leg. The other 2 look like they could possibly have been deceased even when they placed them in the back of their pickup truck. So it goes to the bigger picture that in these environments, in areas that the State Department have defined as a level 4 place, which means you're not supposed to travel there. They recommend you not travel there because of, sadly, situations like this.
So some information that we're getting in from our producers there, and also Matt Rivers, who's on the ground in Mexico, Brad, that the 2 Americans that were found alive say that they were kidnapped there in Matamoros, and they were actually found in a wooden house in the Laguna Nona area, just outside the town of Matamoros there on Tuesday. So they were kidnapped on Friday. The 2 that were found alive were hidden, I guess, in this wooden house, according to officials there. So it's interesting, the questions, why were 2 of them killed? Why were 2 of them not killed? Does that add any more context to try and confirm that they were targeted, not targeted? Because apparently also they're saying that when they were kidnapped on Friday, and these 3 days between the kidnapping and being found, that these Americans were transferred to different places, including a clinic, in order to create confusion and avoid rescue efforts. So that's interesting that some of them were taken to a clinic, a medical clinic. I wonder if that's this story that's been created about them going to Mexico for cosmetic surgery. It raises questions whether that's why they were headed there or not.
And it also lets you know they've probably done this before. I mean, this is pretty classic drug cartel sort of kidnapping. So I'm not suggesting this is part of a drug cartel operation, but they move people around. If they take them, they'll move them, then move them again. I mean, Al-Qaeda did this in Afghanistan. ISIS did it in Iraq. So the idea that you move people around to confuse either the military or law enforcement, I think is pretty real. and would make sense. The clinic idea that you just came up with also sounds reasonable, since she was supposed to go to a clinic, but it still doesn't really get to what's this all about. I mean, this wasn't just driven by, we want to shoot up a bunch of Americans. We'll have to see. That's the big mystery in this case.
And we should note that the U.S. government has a level 4 travel advisory for that part of Mexico. And the short and long of it is the U.S. government advised people do not travel to this place. These people did. And we're trying to figure out what happened. Brad Garrett, we thank you for that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.